evening to all of you present here. I hope you all are doing amazing. On behalf of the whole SEMS family, I welcome you all for today's international webinar on the topic Industry 5.0. And to add our guest of honor and today's speaker, Mr. Michael Rada, it is a great honor to have you with us, sir. We are grateful for your presence. Also, I see quite a number of people joining us. Before I proceed, let me take a brief moment for the introduction of my organization. SEMS Welfare Foundation is a non-profit entity established to work in the areas of education, social welfare, women empowerment, skill development, and entrepreneurship, livelihood generation, and employability, health, research, culture, international cooperation, sports, environmental protection, or any other similar sectors. We promote healthy lives, a balanced and active community, and strong businesses. Now, let me introduce today's speaker to you all. Mr. Rada, born on December 24, 1971, is an experienced business professional equipped with 30 plus years of rich business experience. He started his business career as a steel factory worker in 1990. Back in 2013, he invented and developed the systematic waste prevention methodology called industrial upcycling and started to implement it in the real business and industrial environment of Czech Republic, Europe. 2 years later, industrial upcycling became the groundstone of Industry 5.0, which was launched on December 1st, 2015. In 2020, was Industry 5.0 named the world-leading industrial trend. Before starting with today's event, there are some ground rules which every participant needs to obey and follow them. Feel free to drop your questions. Each and every question will be answered at the end of the webinar. Every participant is requested to keep their mic mute. Lastly, a feedback form will be shared in the chat box. Now over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. And I hope the audience will enjoy the presentation which I have prepared. And generally, it is very similar to a presentation which I delivered 2 months ago to the leading industrial players of India on another event organized by the Confederation of Indian Industries. So let me start because I would like to have as much time as possible for the questions from you. So let me tell you, how does India looks at the age of Industry 5.0? My name is Michael Rada, and I'm human, and this is the only title which you will find on my business card. But at the same time, I am the founder of Industry 5.0. And before we start, let me ask you if you recognize this formula. And I think you do, because you know this is the world most famous formula according to many sources, including the Guinness Book of Records. So you know probably that this formula was delivered by Albert Einstein. What you do not know maybe that it was in 1905, and it was for physics. And it says that energy equal to mass times the speed of light squared. For more than 100 years, we have worked with this formula without considering it can mean something different as well. So what if we take it out of the world of physics and we give it to the world of business? What will the latter means? So what about efficiency? Efficiency is equal to management times competency squared. That sounds interesting to many business leaders, but I have one more interesting one. What about if the E is economy? Have you ever realized that economy is equal money times corruption squared? Or do you know that environment is man times competency? And education demand times consistency squared. What I just did was to show you so-called on-the-ground mines, something what is existing, but we generally ignore its existence. These are the resources which are frequently overlooked. These are the silos and professional blindness. And frequently we need to understand just a little hint. And you know, education is one of the most valuable industries, but does it use the on-the-ground mines properly? What is Industry 5.0? It is the first industrial evolution ever led by man, by human. It's based on the principles of systematic waste prevention, launched on December 1st, 2015. And it recognized 5 types of waste: physical, social, urban, process, and wasting of time. I do implement Industry 5.0 principles since 2013 already, and they help to prevent more than 10 million metric tons of products and materials to become waste. How entered Industry 5.0 to India? I know it exactly because it was me who started the age of Industry 5.0 in India on August 21st, 2020 with just one keynote delivered on the largest conference, industrial conference at the country. During the conference and after the conference, I faced more than 1 million follow-up within 1 week time. And that's very unusual for me because 1 million is the number of people living in the capital of Czech Republic, where I am situating in. And it was so interesting that I have to speed up the setup of the global network, and the world first Industry 5.0 ambassador was assigned on October 14th in India. His name is Shiv Rao, and his company is supervising Industry 5.0 until today. The term was adopted immediately by the Indian companies, but unfortunately, not the content. And that make big step in the right direction. Because if adopted with the content, then it will be India who will be named the first Industry 5.0 in the world. But because it did not happen, European Commission adopted the name on January 7th, 2021, and put it as a part of so-called European Sustainable Development Framework, referring to my work, but they keep the name and change the content again. From evolution become a revolution, from waste prevention, aiming waste production, and from physical to virtual, which was the name of the first article of the birth certificate of Industry 5.0, they went to digital. So what is the difference? What is the development between 2020 and 2023? Let's compare what happened in that time in India and European Commission. Companies start to use the term, but in Industry 5.0, we grow the global network. In India and European Commission, they adopt the concept, but we implemented the principles. India and European Commission aim more digitalization, but we do improve functionality. In India and European Commission, researchers and academics took over. In the real Industry 5.0, factories, businesses, and doers did so. Instead of publishing papers, we reduced the cost and environmental impact. And On the side of India and European Commission, the cost has increased, so as the spendings. But at the same time, Industry 5.0 increased its profitability. So what is the global development? We face in last few years two severe challenges. One was the COVID pandemic, which destabilized the global supply chains, derail standards, dematerialize needs, deconstruct employment standard, a redefined education system, as you know, materialize new potentials and visualize waste issues. But what happened after? Started the war in Ukraine, which destroyed the markets which has been destabilized, which visualized the weaknesses, influence decision-making, impact trading groups, and change global systems. It showed the existence of silos and materialize the waste issues. What is the impact of Industry 5.0 principles? We identify and specify the existence of the on-the-ground mines. We reveal the value of systematic waste prevention. In 2019, it was 475 trillion US dollars. But in 2022, it reached 1 quadrillion, which is more valuable than all players or companies, if they put their profits together, they do not reach this number. They decrease the dependency on technology, on electric power. And instead of globalization, Industry 5.0 started with localization. We increase the stability and power of nations and decrease the environmental impact on a global scale at the same time. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, India missed the opportunity, so as the European Commission, which does not mean it cannot change. But unfortunately, 3 years after the age of Industry 5.0 started in India are still organized Industry 4.0 events. Instead of waste prevention framework being implemented into legislation, more machines are being sold. Industry 5.0 Strategic Alliance, which was launched on September 1st, 2022, have not a single member from India yet. India depends at the moment on data and electric power increase. And the volume of spendings outperform the volume of savings. More waste bins are being implemented instead of less. But it does not mean we cannot correct the direction, because we need to narrow and unify the understanding of Industry 5.0 principles and origin. And this is why I'm so happy that I can talk again to people of India, and not only them. We have to start with the implementation of waste prevention framework on national, so as local government level. We need to implement Industry 5.0 principles in the education system. We need to create pan-Indian waste prevention movement and utilize the wisdom of rich Indian history for the growth of the entire nation, which soon will become the most populated in the world. You know, Industry 5.0 deliver results. There has been more than 150 webinars just in India last year. The business relationships with Indian industry has been established. And advisory roles has been taken up to the government level, where I am honored to advise members of the government on systematic waste prevention. We have prevented more than 10 million metric tons of waste. And the growth all the growth is being realized without the need of third-party financial support, which means we are fully independent. Industry 5.0 definition was looked and viewed more than 100,000 times, despite the fact that it is rejected by Wikipedia. Waste prevention legislation and the Industry 5.0 Strategic Alliance has been launched. The first one on September 1st, 2021. The second one on September 1st, 2022. I would like to share with you right now, as a part of this webinar, the word and the history first, Industry 5.0 or waste prevention framework or legislation. It's a sad to say, but unfortunately, we are not living in an ice age. We are living in a waste age. And we are living there because we did not realize that waste can be prevented. Nothing that can be used or utilized again must become waste. Everything must be considered primary as a pre-waste existing resource and remain in the system. The secondary use or utilization is not limited to the primary function of a product or material and can be utilized by everyone, respecting the rules and regulations. Collecting, sorting, baling, and trade are not being anymore considered secondary utilization, and if not utilized on an original occasion, it must be offered to others before being wasted. And dear ladies and gentlemen, there is no waste if we do not waste. And you may wonder, but not a single legislation in the world, not a single one, includes or deliver the understanding how waste is being created. So it must be part of this legislation framework, which I spent 8 years to write. Wasting is the process in which a product or material of any kind, form, and volume become waste. In fact, wasting is a system failure and must be prevented first without any limitation or legal restriction. And please understand one, wasting is not a feature of a product or material, but it is the result of human behavior. And single use represents one of the most applied forms of wasting. There are 5 waste categories, which I mentioned at the beginning. Physical waste, which is known as trash or garbage, which you store in the garbage bins and containers and on the landfills. But there is a social waste as well, which are people and animals, which cannot live meaningful life. And some of them are kept just serving death as a food stock. There is an urban waste, which is represented by empty factories, flats, buildings, malls, in cities where people have no roof above their heads. And there is a process waste, which is omnipresent. And I don't know how many of you know that 55% of the shipping containers are being shipped all around the globe, just carrying just the air. And there is one more, the last waste, which is omnipresent as well. It is the wasting of time, which is a very special one, because time is the most valuable asset that we get at the moment of our birth. But at the same time, it is the most wasted one during our life. In Industry 5.0, we are reaching milestones every single day. On March and April, the new members to the Alliance join. At the end of May will be the world's first biochar production facility launch in Australia. In May and June, We will start with the first all-in-one Industry 5.0 production in the world, and we will start here in Czech Republic. In June and July, we'll start the recovery of Ukraine, which we have started to prepare already 1 year ago. In August, I would like to start the Indian road tour to visit the businesses, schools, universities, governments, all across the India, because the country deserves to be the first nation in the world to be wasteless. I have built within 21 months a global network in 111 countries, which represents 91.6% of the global population. I did it because I think and I feel that in every single country there must be the gate to wasteless world, which the people and businesses can use. And this gate is represented by Industry 5.0 ambassador. But he or she is being supported by Industry 5.0 heroes, which I hope you will be one of them. As it was said at the beginning, my name is Michael Rada. I'm human, and I hope that this presentation will help you to understand that the only person which is responsible for the future of your own and future of the planet can be viewed by you in the mirror, because it is you. I am just a simple man with simple aim to build wasteless world for all. And I have learned that the giants start to shrink when the humans start to grow. Thank you very much for the time you gave to me, and I hope not a single second was wasted. And just now I would like to ask you to join us and to ask the questions, if any, because I'm here to answer them all. So thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a wonderful knowledge given by you. I hope our audience learned many new things from this session. Once again, I would like to thank you for joining with us and sharing your experience, your knowledge, your precious time that had added an extra spark to this event and made it even more special. Sir, there are a few questions which our audience wants to be answered. So with your permission, shall we? So the first question is, what industries are most affected by 5.0?
There is no exceptions, all industries, from banking over education to mining. I will show you some examples, just few. What you see here, it's a construction material. And can you imagine, this is the only piece which is in Europe, but is made in India. It's made from dangerous waste of Indian hospital. So they has been able to turn it into a construction material. Here is one produced in Europe. Generally, the technology is very similar, heat compression. But here is a different material, single-use plastic and Tetra Pak. This is just one example. Second one, you know, a lot of talks is about automotive industry. This cable here, you see it's quite long, and you see how filled with copper. This is waste. Trust or not, it's really waste. It's being wasted because the company don't need this piece anymore, so they throw it away in a garbage. So we enter the company, we recognize that something like that is happening, and within 1 month, we been able to zeronize their volume of waste. Another example, here you see the size of this bag, and it's a fashion accessory. You will hardly consider what it's made from, because it's made from used bags from potato chips. handmade, the methodology of origami, and in disabled workshops, so with people with disability, they make it. And one more, when we speak about India, it's bag of rice, which I bought in the shop. And this packaging, this great textile package, should be wasted after one and single use. And this is wrong, because it can be a pouch for your pencils. It can be used again. Why should I throw it away? There is a lot of businesses, and what is connecting why Industry 5.0 is so valuable is simple. Every single one of us, including me, is wasting. And every single business, if you have a bigger business, is more wasted. So you can implement the principles which I invented, you can implement them in the factories. So all of them, and what is most interesting part, you don't need to invest money. For you to be able to prevent waste happen, only one thing is needed: change of your mindset from wasteful to wasteless. And this keynote help you with that. So I hope I was able to answer the question.
Yes, sir, definitely. So the next question is, what are the challenges of Industry 5.0?
Good question. I don't know. There are no challenges. You know, I am working 14 to 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is everything can be prevented from happening. The only issue is that I am leading people in 111 countries. So there are many time zones, like now here in my country is 2 whatever, so 3.5 hours less than in India. But it doesn't matter. If I deliver keynote to Philippines, I do it at 1 a.m. because it is so important. So the only, I will not call it challenge, but the only step which is needed is to change the mindset. And as I said, please share it with your friends, with your colleagues, with your clients, because this is systematic waste prevention, nothing more. So second answer was delivered.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, how Industry 5.0 is helpful for manufacturing sector?
Before I enter a company, and I usually do not generally ask companies to enter, I am being asked because, you know, there is not too many who do what I do. I ask the CEO or the owner of the company only one question, and I ask the same question for 10 years. Do you want to generate waste or profit? Because you cannot do both. And trust or not, in 10 years, I receive only one answer, because not a single CEO would prefer to generate waste, because waste is equal to cost. And cost, of course, reduces the profitability. You know, I was asked, for example, by automotive industry, by the European automotive industry, what should they do when they are facing such a big troubles with Ukraine, and before Ukraine, it was already electromobility and not enough resources. And I told them, I told to Skoda, which you know very well, I told to Volkswagen, to Mercedes, reduce the production of new cars. And they look at me like a crazy guy, which I am, but they did not understand. So I continue, and I told them, not stop, reduce the production of new cars, dedicate one production line to the cars of your existing customers and transfer their dirty cars into a clean car. Because this process can be done on production line if you have the right parts in less than 24 hours. So for all people who have already a car and are happy with their brand, but do not ride so much, an electric car will be fine for them. There is no better way and not a better client than the existing client, which is satisfied and which will have his or her own car, electric car, but it will be his old car. That's fine. And I know there is a lot of done with the bikes in India and so on, but I think that Tata Automotive, Tata Steel, and generally Tata in general should consider this. So as BHEL can consider other things. And this is why they started to talk with me just after in 2020, but they have to continue. So I hope that was the answer as well.
So the last question is, according to you, it is people-centric or it is totally based upon AI or ML?
The words people-centric, I don't like the words. I don't use them usually, but it is about humans. The people who use people-centric, they say that people should be in the middle of a factory. But you know, I spent all my life in the factories. If people are there, they are just helping robots to do what the robots are not able to do because of the fingers or whatever generally. So there's a lot of things. But there is one special thing which you do not know. I am speaking to you from a city called Pilsen. It's in the west of my country. But in my country was introduced the word robot as well. And it was in 1921, 102 years ago. It was introduced by an author and screenplayer called Karel Čapek in his novel called RUR. And I will share with the organizer great BBC radio play, which was done and presented to celebrate 100 years of Karel Čapek, of this novel generally. And what is interesting, the man who introduced the term robot said and warned that if we will be completely dependent and addicted to robots and technology, there will be no humans anymore on the planet. And this is exactly the risk. I don't know whether you have heard, but the father of artificial intelligence, the man who was employed by Google, left Google last Monday, so 1 week ago. And he left it with the statement that artificial intelligence with this ChatGPT and all this development reached a level in which it is almost uncontrollable because we do not understand how it is done and who give the orders. So this is why I built everything on the skills of humans. And this is why I recommend India and every country in the world to look back in the roots of their own history. You know, Indian history is much older than the history of Europe, not speaking about America. Your temples, until today, we do not know how they has been built, how the craftsman has been able to craft it all, how they work with the energy that you enter it today, 1,000 years later, and still you feel the energy which is there. You know, you do not have the need to wait for Europe to say what's good or wrong. Some of you in India, some businesses say, but Europe is the role model. You know, I will tell you one example. My government, the government of Czech Republic, tell to the world that Czech people and businesses are recycling in 92%, which will make us to one leading recyclers in the world. But the reality is 12. There is 80% different, 80. And what is the difference? I will tell you because I know it. The government speak about recycling, but he is meaning sorting of waste. And in sorting, we are good, yes. We sort in the right bins and so on, that's right. But we are not good in recycling at all. In Czech Republic, only 8% is being recycled, not even 12. Because all the rest is being shipped somewhere, originally to China, then to Vietnam when China closed, then partly to India, to Africa. All around the globe, there is a European and American waste being stored. The biggest landfill for tires in the world is in Kuwait. The biggest fast fashion landfill in the world is in Peru, in the desert of Peru. And so we can go on and on. It's not true that the rich north is clean and the dirty south or east is dirty. It's not true. The truth is that we ship our waste to other destinations, which is happy to store it with, if we pay something a little bit, but it has no reason. That's completely wrong, and this is not Industry 5.0. So Industry 5.0 is not the artificial intelligence. It is the natural intelligence, the logic of people. So if somebody tells you it is about artificial intelligence, it's delivering the fake. Don't trust him or her, and there are many. I do invite everyone, please connect with me on LinkedIn, and you can book and subscribe the Industry 5.0 newsletter, which every Friday I deliver news from all over the world related to Industry 5.0, and you will see how many fakes are being delivered. Because you know, the name Industry 5.0 become a really door opener, but you have to be very careful to whom you open the door. And if you have questions, get in touch with me.
There is a last question. Do Singapore has waste because they say that they recycle it. So according to you, do they have waste present there?
Yes, and the answer is very simple. Recycling is usually used with a second word, and this is waste recycling. So if you would like to recycle, you have to produce waste first. You know, recycling is a great methodology, nothing against. But unfortunately, in the hands of waste industry, it became one of the biggest lies, because the waste industry let you do the dirty work and they just sell it. So if you really would like to be wasteless, you cannot recycle, you must upcycle. And upcycling is when I take a piece of wood, or when I take the bags and I make out of the bags without wasting them first, I make such a beautiful piece of work. And I know people in India are doing these things, from plastic bags, from others. So there's a lot of things done in India. Please remember all the time, if you will speak about recycling, all the time, you need to speak about waste recycling. So if you would like to get rid of waste, really rid, you have to prevent it to happen. And this is Industry 5.0, and this is systematic waste prevention. So I hope that's understandable. And okay.
Thank you so much, sir. It was very effective for our audience, and it is a very good piece of advice from you. Each and every question answered by you gives a value. Thank you so much, sir, for answering these questions. Now, I would request everyone to kindly open up their cameras for the snapshot.
If I can ask one more thing, I would be very happy to make the image with you, but let me ask you one thing. I will show you what we do when I speak with new partners and ambassadors. We make the snapshot with this sign, and let me explain that this is not meaning Michael Rada is number one or you. No, we have a very different meaning of this sign in Industry 5.0. This sign means we follow one aim, and this aim is to build wasteless world for all. So if you agree with that aim, please make the sign as well, and let's do it together, because you will be the ones who will live in the wasteless world. I am too old, you know, I'm 51, so I will not spend too much time, but you deserve it. Great of you, thanks a lot. But you was too fast, I didn't, please. Once more, 3, 2, 1, smile, everyone. Great. I make my screenshot. I don't know if anybody will made his or her own. Let me check if it's safe, because time to time it's not safe. And I will share it after on LinkedIn. And please, if anybody of you would like to know more or get connected, LinkedIn is the best way. Connect with me, and I'm sure the organizers will share with you, or just, you know, ask Google or Siri, who is the Industry 5.0 founder? They will direct you my way.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir, once again for being there with us. And it was very good having you here. Again, thank you all for attending today's webinar. And if you have any additional questions, you can contact us by email or telephone. We are happy to provide you additional support. Feedback link is being shared in the chat box. Please fill this form within 6 hours. Thank you so much for cooperating, everyone. Thank you so much, sir, for being there with us. So stay tuned with us for new learnings. I, Navneet Kaur Grover, your host for the day, signing off. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Have a nice time free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe and free. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Bye, sir. Thank you.